We're live.
Let's do it.
What's up, Nima Fadavi? How are you, man?
Good, man. How are you, bro?
Yeah, great. We talk to each other all the time, so this feels like very much like a normal conversation, except we're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube, and anybody could be tuning in. So
nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. Dude, thank you so much for being willing to come and share your gems with the Music Business Club here on Rootfire TV. While we're waiting on a couple people to show up here, I'm not even sure that I know like the exact story on how you became the president of Vertical. So could you give us just like a quick rundown on like where your path in the music industry started and how it led you to here?
Yeah, so basically, I've been in the music industry for 15 years. Started off as a producer and DJ. Did that for a really, really long time. So a lot of the artists I would work with, I produced for them. I'd go on the road and DJ for them, and I was always just like the computer nerd friend that was around. So I would help them with their marketing. And at the time, Facebook ads was really, really, really new. It was just starting out. So it wasn't like it is now where so many people know the platform. So I really understood the platform from a very, very early stages. And so just working with a lot of these artists, I would help develop them on multiple sides. So I would help on the creative side with creating the music. I'd help on the marketing side. And then I would help with the actual live music side of things. And as time went on, I'm 35 years old now. So when I was in my late 20s, I just got really burnt out on being in the studio till 3 a.m. or being on the road all the time. And so, I just decided like, look, let me focus more on the marketing side because I'm enjoying that more. And I want to be able to eventually have a family. And, I was getting more excited about that side of things. So I kind of put the creative side of things when it came to producing and DJing to the side. And then that's really how the agency was born. And to fast forward to where it is now, we work with a lot of the artists that I've been working with for over 10 years because I have those relationships with them. So a lot of the people that I would run into that I hadn't seen for a long time would say, hey, like, what are you up to these days? And I would say, I'm doing marketing. And they're like, I need a marketing guy. Why am I going to go work with somebody else? I already know you. You're a trustworthy person. We know, regardless of whatever it is you do a great job. So we're just going to come work with you. And so those relationships that I built over the past 15 years in the music industry are what really have built the like client foundation for Verticals.
Mm-hmm. So how many people work for the company now?
So right now we have about 10 people that work for the company.
Cool. And it's not just digital advertising, it's also community management, right?
Yeah, so we basically do full service marketing in general, not just digital. Digital is just a big chunk of our business, but we focus primarily on marketing overall as a whole. The only thing that we don't do is we don't do any PR or press work. So what that means by full service marketing is we do everything from community management, digital advertising, to playlisting, to brand integrations, to direct marketing, to licensing on the brand side, and anything else that falls under the marketing umbrella we can do.
So clients could be artists, they could be venues, they could be festivals, they could be clothing brands, they could be, anything under the sun, really. It's not just music that you guys are working on.
Yeah, so we specialize in music and lifestyle. And so what that means is we work with music artists, music venues, music festivals, and then the lifestyle side of it, we work with streetwear companies and cannabis brands as well. We don't really go outside of that just because of the way that I've really my theory and my values in what we do as a marketing agency is really based on two things. It's based on culture and it's based on analytics and data. So what I try to do with marketing is bring both of those two worlds together. So for us to go and do something like a real estate office or a lawyer office or something like that, doesn't make sense. It's probably going to be a lot more profitable because there's a lot more money in those industries. But to me, it just seems, corny, and to be honest, like to go and try and do something just to make some money. So for me, with what we do, I've just always really been focused on what we know best.
Yeah. And as Verticals was getting started, you were a one-man operation in the very beginning, and you kind of built the team one person at a time, right?
Yep, exactly. So it was just myself, and I just started to grow it organically, started taking on more accounts. And as my bandwidth couldn't handle that, I started adding another person, then adding another person, then adding another person. And then at a certain point, we ended up merging with another company and took on some of their clients as well, and just helped us overall grow bigger as the infrastructure side of things, when it came to both clients and when it came to employees in the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I've got a million questions I could ask, and I'm going to ask a couple more while we've got a couple people chiming in here. It's good to see some of these familiar names and faces. But I'm thinking back to the time that you and I started working together, and I was sitting here as an artist manager, being like, man, I'm spending so much time figuring out these Facebook ads, and like I don't know, like the platform, and it's miles more complicated and nuanced now. But I remember a couple of years ago talking with a colleague and being like, oh, you got to call Nima. Like, call Nima. Nima's the guy you can do. And just thinking about the complexity of just like the Facebook and Instagram world of marketing itself, it was really a massive weight off my shoulders to like know that it's like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. Nima probably does know how to do what I'm trying to do. So I guess actually, rather than a question, that's just like my personal endorsement of like having worked with you before and being like, man, like I just spent 2 hours trying to upload this video and boost it correctly, and I don't know what any of this means and if any of it's working. And I remember that this colleague, this mutual colleague of ours, saying like, the reports that Nima can give will show you, like the click-through rates are great. And I wonder if there have been any like instinctual approaches to marketing that you feel like have contributed to your success, or if it really is just like you've got to get super granular on a case-by-case basis and think about the content and think about the audience and really not reinvent the wheel every time, but really formulate like a very organic plan every single time. Or if there are some time-tested things that you've come across along the way that are like, okay, this is a merch ad. Okay, we're like trying to get new views on a video now. Are there some like basic principles of digital marketing specifically that you feel like you've picked up along the way that have helped make your job easier?
Yeah, I definitely think there's some really basic principles, right? So if you come to me with an objective of, let's say, just a random thing like, hey, I want to increase my YouTube views, and I have a budget of $1,000, I know how to take that $1,000 and get you legitimate YouTube views on your video and get you the best return on your investment for what you're trying to accomplish. That's the short answer. The other side of it is, when you think about the bigger scope of it, no, there is no time-tested, proven formula because everybody's different. And I think that's a big problem that a lot of people or a lot of other marketers or marketing agencies do, is they kind of try and create these plug-and-play formulas where they don't understand things from a cultural perspective. And that really goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that I really pride our agency in being able to take data and analytics and culture and bring those two things together. So if you come to me with, a certain artist, I have to know that artist's music. I have to listen to that artist's music. And, if I listen to this artist's music, I should be able to tell you, okay, cool, this is very similar to these artists, or this is the type of demographic you want to go after. versus people that don't know the culture side of things. They're just going to say, this is reggae or this is hip hop. And sure it is, but they don't really go further because they don't know the culture. They're just bundling it all into one. And there's just so many layers that you can go and so many different demographics that you can hit that is just super, super important. So that's kind of like the one side of it, right? When you're going from data and analytics and understanding culture. And then you have the flip side of it where you have a lot of people that understand the culture that don't understand the data and analytics side of things. So I have a lot of people that I personally know that they're street dudes and they really understand the culture when it comes to things like hip hop and things like that. But when it comes to data and analytics, they don't understand that side of things. So you kind of have to find this medium between the two where you bring both of those worlds together. And I think that's really, really difficult. And I think you see that so much right now in the marketing world where anybody that knows how to get on a computer and get some social media skills, they're just like, okay, cool, I can run Facebook ads for you. Sure, you can, but do you know how to really run them the right way? Do you know how to really speak to that audience? Do you really understand the difference between the different audiences and the different bands or the artists and things like that? So that's just something that I, from the very, very beginning, have been, very, very adamant about.
Yeah, understanding where the culture and data intersect in a way that you can actually do something with.
Yep.
Cool. Well, hey, there's more people chiming in. There's a really fun question. I'm going to get out of here and put this question from Lizzie B on the screen here and let you take it away from here. All right.
Awesome. So Lizzie B says, tell us about those flats behind you. Awesome. So there's a few back there. There is a Collie Buds one for a hybrid project that we ran some ad campaigns for. There's a movement one. There is some burner ones, and there's an SOBRB one. And those are a lot of our core clients that we work with. So we've helped them with marketing on the actual album side. We've also helped all those people with marketing on the touring and live music side of things, for their online stores and anything else that falls under their marketing. We've helped them with. So those are some really special clients to us. Let's see. Some other questions here. So Rootfire Reed says, who have been some of your mentors over the years? I think with mentors, I've never really had somebody that has been a direct mentor in terms of marketing. It's always really been, people that I've been around. So I would say, people like Igor Katz at Ineffable Music Group, Thomas Cousins at Ineffable Music Group, Burner, various people that might not necessarily said, hey, this is how you do marketing, but they have shown me through their actions and things that they do, and being around inspirational people like that to really focus on your craft and focus on what you do, and to be able to learn from them from an inspirational standpoint. Another one from Reed at Rootfire says, what are some of the data points you look at all day long? So when it comes to data, it really, this is an interesting one because there's so many data points that a lot of people don't know that are there. So I'll give you an example. So with digital advertising, you can target to people based on certain data points. Like you can target to people based on engagement on Instagram, engagement on Facebook, people that watch your videos. So, building out a proper funnel and strategy with those data points, I think is really, really important. So as far as an example of a way you can build a strategy around that is you can take let's say you have a single or an album release that's releasing on a Friday, for example, and post a teaser video on the Monday. And what you can do with the Instagram and Facebook ad platform is there's an objective field when you first create a campaign that's really, really important, because their algorithm is so smart that it knows how to optimize that ad for what you select. So if you select, an objective of, video views, it's going to be able to show that ad to people that are more likely going to view your video rather than click through. So what you'll get is really cheap views, even though your click-through rate might be a little bit more expensive. So you can spend on that Monday when you announce the teaser to really rack up the views on the video. And as you build all these views on this video, then come Friday when you release your project, you can retarget your Out Now campaign to all those people that watched that video on Monday. And that data point might not be as big of a pool if you didn't do that initial spend on that Monday to build that audience. So what you would have had is maybe a couple hundred people. Now you have thousands of people that you can retarget that are actively interested in what you have to offer. The elevators. What up, guys? It says, what does marketing look like on newer platforms like TikTok, for example? So TikTok is one of those interesting platforms that I feel like people think they know how to use, but they don't really know how to use it. People just think it's funny videos or dancing videos and things like that, and that's true. But there's a whole other type of content that's on there, and you can literally post anything on there. You can create a slideshow with photos. You can post tutorial videos, you can post music videos, you can put all types of content. So I think the thing with TikTok that you have to remember is learning how to properly use the tools that are there, as far as the way you can add music, the way you can add text and things like that, making sure that you really dive into all those features that are there, and then really just putting out content. The interesting thing about TikTok is that I believe it was 53%, somewhere along those lines. I can't remember the exact number, but 53% of people that are on TikTok aren't even on Instagram. So your first step really is just getting on TikTok and putting out content. Because if you're not doing that, you're definitely missing out on a huge group of people that you wouldn't be able to even reach on Instagram, which I think is a big concern with people, as far as, hey, I don't want it to just be another platform that I have to manage. But the good thing about it, it's free. All it takes is just a little bit of time to make sure you're on there and just start pumping out content. DJ Hard Knocks Beat said, should one re-promote past projects if it didn't reach enough people, or would it be better to move on to new projects in your opinion? I do so many and I feel my past projects have the quality. So this is a common question I get from a lot of clients that we work with, a lot of new clients that we work with. And I personally don't think there's any harm in re-promoting past projects. If you feel like it didn't reach enough people and you have new marketing strategies and new data points that you can utilize, should definitely be retargeting to those people. And just in general, when it comes to going back and repurposing some of that content as well, you see a lot of people doing it right now, especially with the COVID stuff going on. They're running thin on content. So when it comes to content, they're going back and they're using all this old content, and people that just discovered them maybe like within the past year didn't realize that there was this amazing content from the past 3 years. So they're able to generate some extra streams or views or just even overall brand awareness based on that past content. And then I do have a lot of people where we run a lot of campaigns for them where, you know, they just they say, hey, I have all this content from the past 5 years. Let's just submit all of it and let's see what happens with it. So what we'll do is we'll take all of that content and then we'll submit it to whatever ad platform it is that we're focusing on for them. And I'll come back to them after spending, you know, $20 on each thing. And I'll say, okay, here are the results from each of these things. And, you know, which one do you want to dump money into? And so what you find is that on some of the older content, it can do better. So you might be getting a cost per view on an older video for like, let's say a penny, and then this newer video is getting, you know, 3 cents. A lot of times they're cool. Let's just dump a little bit in this new video, but let's go back and let's dump more money into that one that's getting me better results. So the answer to your question is yes, definitely old and new. 808 Hawaii Vibes said, what are the different roles of the people on your team? So this is interesting because when I first started our agency, I was really dead set on having this structure behind the company where, okay, this is going to be this team, this is going to be this team, these people are going to do this, these people are going to do that. And there's going to be no crossing between the departments or the different type of services that each person works on. And what I found is that there's so many people out there that are just amazing and talented people that have so many different skills. You know, I would say that there's a lot of people on our team that can do almost everything that we offer. So to kind of put them in a box and to put them into one place of you only do community management or you only do digital advertising would be a disservice to them to be able to really shine. And so there is no real structure as far as the different roles that everybody plays. Everybody does everything within their skill set. So I have somebody on my team that does project management and photography and then community management. And I have another person that does community management and direct marketing and digital advertising. They have somebody else that builds websites, but then also does digital advertising and does community management. So it really just depends on the person and what they do. Derek Cabral, I hope I pronounced that right, said, hey Nima, putting aside whether you like his music or not, from a music marketing perspective, what's your take on Takashi 6ix9ine? If we're only talking about a music marketing perspective, I would say great, genius. If we're talking as a person, terrible. Just the values of him as a person is just terrible. I don't like him as a person. I don't like his music. But from a marketing perspective, look, it's working. And at the end of the day, he's getting the results. He's getting the #1 spot. He's breaking the most live stream views on Instagram. So from a marketing perspective, he's doing a great job. But in a clear case like this, that doesn't always translate to you being a good person. So Rootfire says, what's the difference between community management and advertising? So community management in short, everyday people term is social media management. That's community management is a term that the marketing world uses to describe people that run your social media accounts, run your general community of your digital world. So, you know, community management, there can be other things as far as managing your email blasts, doing things like updating your website, communicating with your fans, making sure that posts are up on time, making sure that messages get responded to and things like that. And then advertising is, digital advertising. So utilizing platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google, Spotify, Twitter, Reddit, all these different ad platforms to be able to reach a bigger audience through digital advertising. And the best way to really describe digital advertising is imagine you have, let's just say, since this is obviously music focused, let's say you have an album, and with that album, you have a little bit of a fire going. And what digital advertising does is it just comes in and just puts gas on the fire and just makes that fire so much bigger and allows you to be able to reach more people at a faster rate. So you can target to people based on different targeting groups. And those targeting groups can vary between cold audience groups and warm audience groups. And the difference between cold audiences and warm audiences are cold audiences are people that have no idea who you are. Never heard of you. And so with cold audiences, you can target based on keywords. You can target based on similar bands. You can target based on similar interests. And then on the warm audience group, those are people that are already familiar with you. So those can be people that watch your videos, visit your website. You can target ads based on people on your email list. People that engage with your Instagram or Facebook. So, those are people, again, that are already familiar with you. Brian Zach, let's see, this one's a long one. How much money should a band typically put aside towards marketing a single release, album release? And do you think it's more beneficial for DIY musicians to begin learning more about marketing, or better to pay professionals like yourself to do it? Thanks for doing this. Great info. What up, Brian? So this, with what we do at our agency is we're very big on educating people along the way as part of the process, right? So when I work with somebody, they're not completely in the dark as far as what we do. So, I'm very transparent about our process. I'm very transparent about how we utilize their budget. So if they bring a budget to us and say, we want to increase YouTube views, I say, okay, cool. This is what we're going to do with that budget. We're going to use YouTube in-stream ads. We're going to break up that budget. We're going to put, let's say 500 of it into worldwide views. We're going to put 500 of it into these specific markets. And then once campaigns start going, we say, okay, cool. Our cost per view is this. This is, this is our view rate. This is our cost per view. Now we know, cool, we can dump more money into this at this cost per view. We're going to get X amount of views on this video. And that's just one example, but we really like to educate along the way as far as what we're doing with our clients. And so there is a benefit for DIY musicians to really start learning marketing themselves, because look, in marketing, there's a lot of shadiness. There's a lot of people that will rip you off. There's a lot of people that will say they're going to do something and they don't know how to do it, or they'll just say, I'm going to get you these Spotify streams or YouTube views, and they just use bots, or they just completely do something that you have no idea about, and you have no idea how to reverse engineer or check if it's even legit. Something like YouTube, you can go in your video analytics and you can see your where your views came from. So if somebody says, hey, I run a YouTube in-stream ad campaign for you, you should say, okay, cool. So if I go to my video analytics right now, I will be able to see that you just told me I got 50,000 views from YouTube in-stream ads. I can see that it shows on my end, on my analytics, that it says 50,000 views from YouTube advertising. And if it doesn't, they're straight up lying to you. So yes, it is beneficial to learn these things, but then to be able to hire other people to do it, to be able to focus on the marketing side of things, and you can focus on the creative side of things, because it does take a lot of time to do this stuff. So, that's what we're here for. That we're here to do that work and to be the marketing arm of a lot of these artists and companies. Rootfire said, what are some of your favorite parts of the job on a daily basis? Those little moments of joy that get you excited about. I'm gonna take a sip of water for this one. So I think the favorite part of my job is really that we can help people. We can help artists, we can help brands, and there's a certain type of art to taking a company that is already, or a company or an artist that is already doing, let's say, $1 million a year, and to be able to scale them to do, 5 million a year or 10 million a year. And then there's another type of art to take an upcoming artist that's generating, a couple $100 a month, to be able to generate, 10,000 a month, and then from there to be able to generate 100,000 a month. So I think that just seeing the success of a lot of people and being around these people and these artists for so long, to the point where I've known them when they didn't really have a fan base at all, to the point where they are now, where they have the fan base, they have the revenue, they're out of this world at this point on some of them. And that is really the most exciting part of the job, is to be able to be part of people's success story. Justin Ratowski said, YouTube ads are more important than Facebook and Instagram ads. It's not really that they're more important. It just really depends on what you're trying to do. So it really depends on what your objective is. So with YouTube ads, if your objective is to get views on your YouTube video, YouTube ads are more important than any other platform, because that's what's going to get you the best return on your investment for getting YouTube views. If you're trying to generate traffic to your website, Facebook and Instagram ads are more important for sure, because you'll get a cheaper click. And also the way the ad platform is, people tend to click on those ads more rather than YouTube, where it's not as, the way it's presented to the user isn't like in their organic feed. So it just really depends on what your overall objective is. But I would say YouTube ads for YouTube views, Facebook and Instagram ads for almost anything else. And then I would also say, like, it depends on you as an artist too, because if you do have a younger demographic, they're going to live on Instagram more than Facebook. And then vice versa. If you have an older demographic, they're going to live on Facebook more than Instagram. So it really just depends, but that's kind of the general guidance with that. Rootfire says, dark posts versus organic. So for those of you that don't know what dark posts are, basically dark posts are posts that are, they're not shown on your actual feed. So when you create an ad, you can, and this is specifically talking about Facebook and Instagram. So when you create an ad, you can select if you want to run your ad from your post that you already put up on your page as an organic post, or you can choose if you want to run it as a brand new ad that you create. And that ad that you create, which is a post, essentially isn't shown on your feed. So, my general guidance on something like this is go organic as much as you can. And there's certain situations where you can't, because what happens is if you run the ad on your organic post, it builds up that engagement on that organic post. And when other people see it, they see all the engagement on. They're like, "Well, this post has 100 comments." And if you don't have that, and you run a bunch of dark posts, your engagement is kind of scattered and all over the place. And so the goal is to really be able to consolidate all of that engagement, so then it has a better effect when other people see it. Curtis, what up? Curtis said, if I boost a Facebook post using Facebook's built-in tools, I see an option to target people who have already liked my page. But the last time I boosted an Instagram post from within IG, I did not see an option to target people who already follow my account. Is it possible to specifically target people who already follow your Instagram account? Yes, it is. It's not built in to the Instagram ad platform on your app. But when you go into Facebook Ads Manager and you manually create an ad, you can create a custom audience, and that custom audience, you can build it based on people that view your Instagram, that engage with your Instagram, that bookmark certain, I think it's called bookmarking, certain posts from your Instagram. And I think there's a handful of other options. I don't remember them off the top of my head outside of video views as well. So you can target it. You just have to do it manually through Ads Manager. But Instagram does have a really, really good option where when you create an ad, you can target automatically. And that automatic targeting option is really, really smart and really good. I think there's a lot of people out there that might think otherwise because they say you have to go in, you got to get very specific, and you got to create your ad groups and all that with the different custom audiences. And look, if you don't want to spend money with an agency or hire somebody to start building out all these data points for you, just use the automatic targeting. It works really, really good. And the good thing about it, and I've said this before too on, I think it was last weekend on the Musician Mastery Summit, is you can see in your Instagram app the analytics from that Instagram boost that you did. So you can see if I run $20 on this post from hitting the promote button on Instagram, I can see how many clicks it got. I can see the impressions and all that. But the thing that I really like about that is you can see how many people followed you that saw that ad. So if I spend 20 bucks on that and it shows me that I got 40 followers from it, I can do the math and say, okay, that's 50 cents a follower. And then I go back and then I start doing 20 bucks on, let's say my last 10 posts. And I go back and look at the analytics in my app for all of those posts that I ran and just find the one that has the cheapest cost per follower. And then you could just dump a bunch of money into it, and that'll basically build you a bunch of followers on your Instagram account. Rostin, what up, man? It said, what are the best assets for marketing an album? Video, like plain and simple video. I would say motion graphic video or any type of promo videos, because the thing with video that a lot of people don't understand is it not only helps with engagement and people respond to it a lot better, but you can build audiences and data points from video. So if I run a campaign with let's say a motion graphic video, I'm building that audience to where whatever I do a few days from now or a week from now or whenever, I can retarget another set of ads to people that watch that video. If I use an image, I can't retarget ads to people that saw that image. I can only retarget to people that saw a video. So that's why video is just super, super important. And the good thing about video too is even if you're not spending money on digital advertising, you can still retarget ads to people that saw videos on your organic posts. So it's not like it's something that you have to run ad spends on, but it does help to build that higher viewership on the video. Uh, 808 Hawaii Vibe said, what do you think are some differences between the reggae music industry and other groups such as pop, rap / hip hop, and rock industries? They each have their own culture, to be honest, and it's the crossover between the different industries isn't very common, in my opinion. Some people might have a different opinion about that, but the reggae culture in the music industry there is completely different than the hip hop, and completely different than the rock, completely different than the pop. So there's a lot of similarities, but for the most part, the culture is just completely different. I think that reggae is a lot more open in terms of community, I would say. And rap and hip hop and there's more of a competitiveness between certain artists. So that's just through my experience. But yeah. Rootfire said, how important is Instagram TV versus the normal Instagram feed? So the big difference that I don't like about Instagram TV and Instagram feed is Instagram hasn't rolled out an ad platform or ad placement for Instagram TV. So what happens is if you put something on Instagram TV, it is solely relying on organic reach versus something like Instagram feed. You can rely on Instagram organic reach, but you can also spend money on digital advertising with those posts. And with Instagram TV, you can't do it. And then, there's the question of, which is a common one that I get all the time with, hey, I'm releasing a music video. Should I release the entire music video on Instagram TV, or should I just put a snippet of it on Instagram feed? And my general thoughts on something like that is to post on a snippet on Instagram feed and then direct people to the YouTube. And then a few weeks after that, then post it on the Instagram TV. Again, like this is just my take on it. There's probably some people that'll think differently about that. But I just like the ability to look at something, and if it's not performing well, to throw money at it to be able to get it to reach the people that I want it to reach. And you can't do that with Instagram TV, unfortunately. But then the other side of Instagram TV is that the Instagram TV isn't as oversaturated as the feed. So you can get a better organic reach, but again, I have that safety net with the Instagram feed to be able to dump digital advertising dollars into it. Derek Cabral said, where do you see the iTunes store /chart/app in 5 years? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. That's a good one. I think that things are going to become more and more mobile, but I feel like that's kind of already happened. So yeah, I don't know on that one. You kind of stumped me on that. I think we'll have to see. Keith said, what's been your favorite project to have been part of to date? As far as projects, I would say that it's not necessarily a project, but there's certain artists that I've been able to be a part of that I've seen really grow, which goes back to what I was talking about earlier as far as being part of people's success stories and helping them scale what they're doing. So a good, some that I was really, really excited about was SOBRB was a really great one where, helped them out from very early on to the point where they're, where they are now is amazing to see. Somebody like Burner, who I was even just extremely hands-on with on the creative side when it came to producing and DJing, to all the way to the marketing side, to helping with the actual brands that were created under him, and seeing all of that has been just mind-boggling. I think that the Ineffable Music guys and what they're doing at Ineffable Records is amazing. I've been with those guys from the very, very beginning. To see where they're at now is also mind-boggling. So I think it's just really there's too many. There's too many projects I've been a part of that I feel very thankful to be part of, and that people really trust me to be part of their team. So I'm hoping there's going to continue to be more. There's somebody that I'm really, really excited about. He's an artist from Houston. His name's D Baby. He's really, really dope. I think he's going to be just the next big thing. There's also another artist from Dallas named Juan Monet, who is just super, super dope as well. So I think there's always so much amazing talent out there. So I'm looking forward to being part of more projects and more projects. Evo Jacob said, "Are there any books you'd recommend for a beginner in marketing?" Yeah, so I haven't, to be honest, I haven't been reading as many books as I used to. There was some that I really, really like though. Contagious is really good. What was it, 50 Cent's book? I think it was the 50 Laws of Power. Don't quote me on that. Double check the name on that. I really, really like that book. And in general, I'm just really inspired by people's stories. So other people's stories are what I like to really study and see how they did it, rather than having like a marketing book per se. So I like reading Gucci Mane's new book. I liked reading Rick Ross's new book. Which they're not marketing books, but what they're doing essentially is marketing, and understanding their story and how they came up and the different things along the way that they had to deal with and how they overcame those things is just amazing, and it's really inspirational for me as a person to hear another person's story like that, and that's what really helps teach me about marketing. See. I'm gonna go back a little bit to see if there's any other. Rootfire said, "Do you do any text marketing? Any specific tools in that space you like?" Yeah, the thing with text marketing is we do to a certain extent. I think the thing with text marketing is it's great, but it is so direct with people that you don't want to overdo it. So something like email, you can send an email blast out, let's say every 2 weeks or every month. With text marketing, my specific take on it is to spread it out drastically more than you would with something like email or even like Facebook Messenger marketing, because you don't want people to get annoyed and feel like it's spam, and it's such a direct personal thing that overdoing it can really piss people off and annoy them. And the reason I say that is because there's certain text lists that I'm personally on that really just annoy me, but when I get an email, it's kind of like whatever. So I'm just very, very cautious and careful about text marketing. David, what up, man? David said, "Hi, Nima. What of the social media has the strongest correlation with DSPs with buying tickets, meaning Spotify streams to buying tickets and markets based on listening streams from that platform?" So when it comes to social media and correlation with DSPs and correlation with buying tickets, I touched on this a little bit earlier as far as knowing where your audience is, whether they're Instagram or Facebook. And I think that's really, really important, because you want to be able to reach your audience on the platforms that they're primarily on. So something like, let's just say, for example, has an artist that has most of their audience on Instagram. You want to utilize platforms like Instagram to be able to drive to those DSPs, to be able to drive to buying tickets, and then vice versa. So if most of your audience is on Facebook, using that platform to drive to the DSPs and buying tickets. And then making sure that you do have access to something as simple as your Spotify for artists. So looking at that data, looking at those analytics, where are people listening to your music the most? And being able to correlate that to where your strongest markets are. So if I go on Spotify for artists, excuse me, and I see that I have majority of my fans in LA, I can take those numbers and I can take that to a promoter, and I can say, or a talent buyer, and say, look, I have these numbers in LA. And then, if there's certain markets that you want to build in that you might not be the strongest in, you can use platforms like Instagram, or you can use platforms like YouTube in-stream ads to be able to target ads to those regions to be able to build those Spotify numbers up in those certain regions. So if I'm strong in LA, but I'm weak in San Francisco, I'm going to run some YouTube in-stream ad campaigns to San Francisco. I'm going to run some Instagram ad campaigns to San Francisco to be able to increase my numbers on not just Spotify, but Instagram as well and YouTube. So then I can show, okay, hey, I have built these numbers in these markets and I've built this fan base in these markets. And the good thing about right now is, I mean, not even just right now, but just in the past, 5-10 years is you don't need to go to these markets. You can do this online through digital advertising. You can target to specific markets. So utilizing these platforms is very, very important when you're trying to build in these markets. And my buddy Thomas Cousins from Ineffable always used to say, you just need 10 solid markets to be able to route a tour. And so with digital advertising and YouTube and Instagram and Spotify, you can build 10 solid markets online and then start booking your tour to hit those markets when live music opens back up. Marco Martinez asks, how often do you run campaigns focused on remarketing previously released music, or is the best plan of action to release new music and focus money on the new material? Thanks for the info. What up, Marco? So running campaigns on retargeting ads to people for previously released music, I think is a great idea. This is kind of something we touched on a little bit earlier. I forgot who asked it, but DJ Hard Knocks asked it about going back and taking some old music and focusing on old music as well. And yeah, I think that there's nothing wrong with that. I think that if you have the content, making sure you're continuously putting out new music and marketing that, but then also if there's new fans that you're finding and new fans that are finding you, there is the ability to take all of this old content that they might have never heard of and retarget it to them so they can discover even your old stuff and really build that brand awareness in those fan bases. And the thing with right now where you're fairly limited as far as the type of content you can create. So there's no live music, obviously. So there's no live music content or anything like that being put out there. There's no in-person content being created with large groups of people. So taking some of that old stuff and just, maybe it's a year old, maybe it's 2 years old, maybe it's 3 years old. There's people out there that might have just discovered you that might not know of this content. And then taking that and then putting that on social media and repurposing some of that old content, I think is really important. It's really popular right now. I think it's a great idea. And same goes to be more specific about your question. Definitely, totally cool with focusing money on that too as well, because you can target those new people and be able to use that to amplify what you're doing. Rootfire said, how has email marketing changed in recent years? Is blowing up people's inboxes just generally more accepted nowadays? Yes, it is. It is definitely generally more accepted nowadays. I personally don't think email marketing has changed a whole lot. I think there's a lot of new channels that are evolving and coming out. Like there's the obvious text campaigns. There's mass Facebook Messenger campaigns, which a lot of people don't even utilize still to this day, which are really, really great. So in email marketing, you get, let's just say, anywhere from 2% to 10%, which is pretty good at 10% open rate. But with something like Facebook Messenger campaigns, you're kind of getting the opposite. You're getting 80% to 90% open rates. So there's a lot of potential with Facebook Messenger campaigns, and making sure you're utilizing those. And I think you have to really understand how you as a person would receive those messages. So are you okay with getting Facebook Messenger blasts like every week, every few days? How do you feel about text campaigns? Like, do you get annoyed after people send them, every week? What is your take on it? And so I kind of reverse engineer that about how I feel personally about that. And I would say that like email marketing, you could do once a week. It's annoying, but you could do it. I'd probably say in general, email marketing anywhere from like 2 to 3 weeks is my kind of like sweet spot with that. Facebook Messenger campaign, I would say like once a month, maybe even a little bit more. And then text campaigns, I would even go like once every 2 months, maybe even a little bit more on that too. So it just really depends on how you feel, and everybody's got a completely different theory on it. So that's just my take on it. Rootfire asked if an artist has limited budget for a new music video, would it be better to spend it all on one platform or spread it across many platforms? I would say focusing on YouTube, taking that budget and really dumping it all into YouTube. You can take a little bit and focus on something like Instagram and Facebook, but I would say for the most part, focusing that on YouTube. And it really depends how limited your budget is. If you're talking about $50, I would say just straight YouTube. If you're talking about $300, probably say maybe like 25 on Instagram or Facebook, depending on where your audience is, and then the rest of that on YouTube. Because with something like YouTube, a lot of people look at your YouTube numbers in terms of promoters, talent buyers. They're not really looking at your Instagram view numbers as much. And I think that video content, when it comes to music video, most people consume music video content on YouTube. They're not really going to Instagram to watch music video content as much. So I would say focusing on the platform that those people live on more. Brian Zach, let's see. Can you give a few examples of areas where you see most bands lack or misunderstand when doing marketing? Yeah, I think that there's a lot of bands out there that think they know how to do marketing. And I have this conversation almost every day with people where they say, hey, I know how to do digital advertising. Why should I hire you guys? Or why should I hire somebody, not even just us specifically, why should I hire an agency or somebody that does marketing for a living to do this stuff? And once you start talking to them and understanding how they're doing their marketing, they're either doing it wrong or they're doing it very, very surface level. So, making sure that you, first of all, have a pixel. And I'll just speak on just Facebook and Instagram because that's just the most popular platform and where you'll get like the best ROI in general overall. But with those specific ad networks, making sure that you have a pixel, making sure that you're utilizing that pixel. So it's placed on your website, it's placed on your landing pages, it's placed on your ticketing pages for venues that you're playing at, for the ones that will allow you to do that. Some of them won't. Making sure that's placed, making sure that you do have your custom audiences properly built out. So people that engage with your Instagram, engage with your Facebook, view your Instagram or Facebook, watch your videos on Instagram or Facebook, building out all these audiences to make sure that, look, when you have a release, you don't need to spend a whole lot of money to be able to go directly to your fans. And so once you build those audiences up and you start, building those data points, you can say, okay, hey, I'm releasing this project. I can just take this directly and spend, $100 on Instagram and go direct to my fans. I don't need to spend this time of building these audience pools up. And that's just a very bird's eye view of making sure that you have your warm audiences built out. But, to your point, as far as what I see the most as people doing is they don't do any of that, what I just described. They just basically will create an ad and they will target to similar bands as far as like the interest, and that's basically it. So there is very surface level marketing there that is, sure, it can work great, but when you get into getting a deeper dive and being really efficient with your spend, I think that's the biggest mistake that I see. All right, so we're running out of time here, so I'm gonna do one more question. Let's see. Derek Cabral said, what's the best lesson or best thing you learned while working at Apple? Derek, so you must have done some homework. So I've worked at Apple twice over different periods of time. I would say I can answer this best to the most recent time that I worked at Apple, and that was I learned a lot about apps and the App Store and certain things that I just was clueless about before in terms of APIs and how different things integrate with each other on a technical standpoint, how the app ecosystem works. So learning those things and then understanding how a lot of that applies to marketing with what I'm doing right now is one of the biggest lessons that I learned working there, because without that, I would just have no idea about a lot of things on the technical side. Let's see, I'll do one more question here. Rootfire said, most of the time we want to focus on warm audiences, but what are some examples of a good time to focus on cold audiences? So the strategy that I like to take is breaking things up into the warm and cold audiences. And the way I like to think of it is you have your warm audiences, which are those custom audiences I mentioned. So people that are already familiar with you, that visited your website, engage with your Instagram, all that stuff, right? So they already know who you are. So you have this warm audience pool. And then over here on the other side, you have these cold audience pools. So let's say you release a new album. You want to go straight to your warm audiences because you know those are your core fans. So you want to first make sure they're taken care of. But then on the cold audience side, what happens is, excuse me, think about what I was saying very, very early on in the stream, where people have, let's say, video content. So if you take this video content and you run it to these cold audiences, so let's say I target to bands of similar interests, and I'm running this video, and you can scroll past it, right? And you don't get dumped into the warm audience pool. But if you're scrolling and you stop and you either click through on the ad, or you engage with the ad, or you watch a certain portion of the video of the ad, then at that point, you're dumped into the warm audience pool because you have shown interest in that ad and that artist. So the best way to think of it is like you have your warm audience pool, and the cold audience pool, you're constantly fishing in there for new fans. And that's how you can really, really grow your warm audience pool. And you're just constantly hitting warm audiences, but then you're also hitting cold audiences to consistently find new people and to be able to grow your warm audience pool. So awesome. Well, I think that's it for our time, but thanks everyone for tuning in. You can always follow me on Instagram at Nima Fadavi. My name is, my full name spelling is right here on the corner of the screen. So hit me up on Instagram. You can always shoot me a DM if you have any more questions. Peace.